You don't get to have an amazing relationship with someone because of a promise or a commitment. You get to do it because you renew that promise and commitment on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. For me, I think for a long period of my life, I believed that love was what I saw in the movies. And I know that sounds ridiculous. And then you start recognizing that, oh, wait a minute, I had a few relationships that look like that on the outside, but then they didn't feel that way. The way I think about this is that, first of all, you have to define what love means to you and what you want love to be. For some people, they just want love to feel like attraction, desire. And if that's how you define love, chances are you're gonna want a new person every month or every year. For men at least, or men that I know, where you kind of can get bored quickly. Someone entertains you for a few months and then after that you need something new, and you keep moving and moving and moving. And then the individual has to decide. I think the choice is, do I want a long-term relationship or do I not? I don't think that you have to love one person for the rest of your life. You can't force someone to say there is only one person. And I think often the institutions of the world, marriage and religion often kind of enforced people to believe that, well, you got married at 21, you got to be with this person for the rest of your life. I don't think everyone intentionally thinks, I feel I'm ready for a long-term relationship now. I don't think we do that. I think we assume that at one point you're meant to kind of get into one and settle down, rather than the conscious choice. And so for me, it's like everyone has to sit there and look in the mirror and go, why do I want either right now? What serves me and what serves my vision and what serves what I'm trying to do? This is what we do as humans, which I find really interesting, is that we make everything extreme. So we're so scared of codependency. So therefore we go to polyamory. I don't want to be dependent on one person. So instead of figuring out the trauma as to why I become codependent, and instead of purifying and figuring out what it is that makes me codependent, I just believe that an external shell of being in a polyamorous relationship will solve that. I'm not saying this is the only reason, and that's it. I'm just saying that the people I've spoken to, they've said to me that they were scared of being codependent, so they believed if they had more partners, then they wouldn't be codependent. Basically, there's no external shell that's going to solve your internal trauma and pain. So whether you're with one person or whether you're with 3 or 2 or 4 people, neither of those are the cure. I think making a lifelong decision is a recipe for failure. Anything, forget loving another person. What could you say that you're going to do every day for the rest of your life? What is there that you could truly say, hand on your heart, that you know you'll be able to maintain? I don't think there's anything. When you plant a seed, you water it and you make sure it has sunlight and you make sure the soil is good. When it becomes a tree, you still do all of those things. You don't stop like just caring for it. The care might evolve and change. Like you don't need to water a tree in the same way because its roots are there, but you can't be completely negligent. I think the challenge we've created in society is that we believe that a long relationship is a successful one. And really my definition of a relationship is, are we growing together? Are we thriving together? And are we learning from each other? If I'm not doing that with you anymore, I think the challenge is no matter how long a relationship gets, you have to be open to the fact that you could get to a point with someone where there's no more growth. Just as in a business relationship, you wouldn't stay in business with someone if you weren't growing together, you weren't thriving together, and you weren't learning together. If you do want that with someone, make sure that you are checking in regularly, that you're renewing that, like you're reconnecting with each other regularly, because you don't get to have an amazing relationship with someone because of a promise or a commitment. You get to do it because you renew that promise and commitment on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, not because you want to extend the years you've been together, but because you want to extend the growth. And so for me, I think that no one should feel forced. And really what marriage is, or what exclusivity is, or what commitment is we're going to try to grow together. I believe that being in a committed relationship has taught me skills and qualities that I wouldn't have if I wasn't. The ability to self-validate. I believe that if I was single for the past 10 years, I would have used other people to validate myself, because I would have been able to go to different people for different forms of validation. When you're committed to one person, chances are they don't validate you sometimes, well, at least in my case, and that trained me in the ability to go inward and validate myself for what I care about myself. Another one that I would say that I only got through being in a committed relationship, the recognition that effort and contribution to a relationship was not always visible. So what I mean by that is, often in a relationship, we think of the breadwinner or the person who pays the bills as being the way someone contributes. Or if someone cleans and cooks, that's the way someone contributes. When you get into a relationship for a long time, you start to realize there are spiritual and emotional contributions to a relationship, which you don't get to see when your relationship is purely physical. Studies show that when you engage in a physical relationship with someone, the chemicals that are released make you feel closer to them when you're not actually closer to them. So you haven't really done the work for deep value-based intimacy, but you're feeling the high, and you can feel that with people again and again and again. People expect to spend all their time together. If you're spending all your time together, then where is the time to grow independently so that you can improve each other's lives? And so if every night you go home and you put a show on together and you watch it, and that's your way of spending time together, you're not investing in or growing the relationship. And then 3 months down the line, you're wondering, why don't we feel any chemistry or any spark or any compatibility? Because you both haven't grown independently, so you haven't been able to grow together. And I think one of the biggest challenges is that people say, oh, well, if you don't want to spend time with me if we're together, then that means there's something wrong. And so there's this insecurity that if you don't want to spend every moment with me, then you don't think I'm good enough. And when you live in that, it's like, well, wait a minute, you've missed the point that if they're always with you, then they can't bring anything to you. If you want to be with someone long term, you have to figure out what you want to do together. And then your relationship has to have a purpose beyond each other. The goal of your relationship can't be, how do we stay together? Like, the goal of the relationship is, how do we serve together? How do we help our community together? Like, couples who have that ability to expand their radius of care and compassion. For me, one of my biggest values in life is history and loyalty. I like long-term friendships, because then you can look back and look at how far you've come. Everything in life is simply a learning experience.